Qualcomm's dragon is snapping, and it's about to cut a hole right down the middle of this market. Good afternoon, welcome to Turbo Tortoise Tech. If you're new here, I'm Reese of the 4-piece variety or Wookie Triple XL. This thing is just kind of mental. I've been told to watch out for ARM stuff coming up, and as my first experience, color me more than impressed. This at 900 grams keeps up with my water-cooled 5800X3D, about 85% of its multi-threading performance, single-core performance astronomically good, mostly also thanks to its LPDDR5X memory, which runs at 8,448 mega transfers. Yes, I didn't stutter, 8,000. Absolutely ridiculous. Anywho, let's start with what's in the box. So you get quite a nice little package from Uncle Evetech with this. You get the included keyboard, which is just magnetically detachable. If I just show you that, it's got two little connections in there and everything just pops into position oh so easily. You obviously get the tablet itself, and you get a little Microsoft 365 personal subscription, which is kind of nice. That it comes with that, because the real idea with this is to give you the best Microsoft type experience in a mobile platform. And they've pulled that off in droves, let me tell you. You also get a 38-watt charger with this, which will charge the battery pretty rapidly, about 2 and a bit hours. And you're looking at, like I tested to basically exactly what they said, 14 hours worth of continuous video playback time. The thing that the Qualcomm Snapdragon ARM series of processors can do is efficiency, much better than anybody else pretty much. M1 Ultra, M1 Tech. Intel, Tech, AMD, Tech. Nothing can touch this on efficiency. It's not passively cooled. It does have a fan within the system over here. If we take a closer look at the actual device, on the right hand side, you'll see two USB Type-Cs, so that it can then obviously interface with docks, and you can turn it into like a little desktop type replacement. Then on top is the power button and the volume button, very typically Android-esque with that, and you can see the lip then for the cooling area that is surrounding that. Then on the left hand side, you've got the power connector, and that's with its own proprietary type of connection, which I'm not really a huge fan of, but you can probably charge from the Type-Cs if you do leave that behind, which is going to be a big plus. Top front center, you've got two sensors over there for lighting, along with the webcam and two pinhole microphones, and then you've got another microphone top center around the back. The kickstand is really nice to touch on this, because it's got a huge amount of positions. It's free, it doesn't have any click-in points, so you can adjust it as you need to on the fly. The attached keyboard is finished in this nice sort of Alcantara type of material. It does flap up in over here and magnetically attach like that to act as a screen protector when you're on your mobile sort of usage with it, which is obviously quite a nice touch. You can see it puts it to sleep because of the sensors up top. Then you've got a touchpad below that with a full type chiclet type keyboard with a full function set on it as well. So it's got that dual life. It's looking to be a laptop and a tablet replacement all in one, because this thing has more than enough power to do so. This particular spec has 16 gigs of hard soldered LPDDR5X, along with that 10-core Qualcomm Snapdragon. It is an absolute animal at 3.4 gigahertz, what it can pull off. We're just going to dive into that with the multi-threading. I never want reviews to just be something that you could read off a spec sheet. Let's look at its real-world performance. We love that Cinebench 2024 has testing for ARM processors. It does have a little bit of compatibility bugs with older x86 coded programs, but with Cinebench, we can test like for like that. And yes, it's getting to 85% of my water-cooled 5800X3D, which has an undervolt, which has very good DDR4 memory for that platform. It's my main PC for gaming and streaming for a reason. And yes, this thing slaps really, really hard. Firestrike as well was the first place that I managed to test the CPU. The physics test, which is a really good indicator of general multi-threading performance, got 51 FPS, 16,000 points. That absolutely annihilates anything in this sort of wattage from AMD, from Intel, or from Apple. Apple M1 Tech, get out of here. This thing absolutely annihilates it. 2880 by 1920 monitor. This particular one has the HDR LCD, which is okay. It's very flat in its color reproduction, and you can switch between modes. It's got 60 and 120 hertz, but it's also got sRGB mode, so that if you're going to be doing designing, like in Photoshop, etc., etc., Adobe Premiere, Illustrator, that kind of level, it's going to eat through that. Absolutely no problems. If you go towards things like After Effects, however, I think you're going to run out of graphic performing sort of setups. But in CPU-based performance, it's an absolute animal. It's got an AC1200 Wi-Fi. It didn't have the cleanest graph I've ever seen on a transfer, and it basically maxed out my line as far as internet speeds go. It's still going to be more than enough because you're not really looking at using this as a gaming platform. Albeit, with that Firestrike score, this thing could actually play games as well, which is sort of mind-blowing in of itself. But the real idea with this is to be the absolute best performance that you can get for Office 365 and then Adobe type suite, Outlook, etc. on the go. When you use the battery, even in the performance modes, I ran a Cinebench on battery and it fell maybe 5% on overall performance. And then you could probably do that for a couple hours. I mean, like probably 5 or 6 hours. That's the big plus here with the ARM type processor, is the sheer amount of efficiency that you derive from that. Throw in really good webcams. I've got to say, for built-in webcams, these are some of the best I've ever used. They're approaching Elgato Facecam kind of quality for like a front and back facing. It's the complete suite of tablet and laptop replacement all in one device. Yes, it's not cheap. 30,000 Rand is a bit of an expense. But if you're on the go and you were looking at other things in this sort of price bracket that had the sort of feature set with an Intel Ultra, that's the only real thing that springs to mind with this kind of setup. This has got generative autofill. It does have an NPU, so it's still going to be able to do things like co-create and generative autofill in your Adobe suite. This is then effectively a drawing tablet, because it does have a touchscreen, on the go for 30,000 Rand. That could then render your project off of battery even. That is just mind-blowing to me. 14 hours. It weighs 900 grams, ladies and gentlemen. For a change, I'm actually somewhat knocked speechless by this device. It's flipping ridiculous amounts of power per watt. That's what's really coming to the table here. Yes, iPads have existed in this kind of format. It's funny because Microsoft introduced the idea back in the day, and now they've really showed its perfection. The ARM processor has really unlocked the maximum potential that you could possibly get from this kind of setup. As I said before, I wasn't able to monitor the temperatures. It did get quite warm, mostly towards the back top area over here, underneath where these buttons are. That's where the warmest sort of spot was. And I'm assuming that's where the processor is sitting, because that would just make a lot of sense. That's why there's cooling around that sort of area with the kickstand and such. It also, one other thing that I almost forgot to mention that's kind of mental with this is the built-in speakers. They sound absolutely fantastic, and they have ridiculously good volume, getting as much as like 80 decibels as well. As far as a Microsoft based experience goes, they've made sure that they're getting the top performance from all of that, and then you're unlocking basically your full Adobe suite, Light AutoCAD, maybe even Light 3ds Max. I don't know the blocking sort of areas that the ARM is going to fall into, but the fact that it ran DirectX 11 with Firestrike actually pretty well means that it's probably going to be good for those purposes as well. As far as mobile devices go, this is one of the most ridiculous I've ever tested. The battery life with that sort of power, it's just astronomically good. Hard soldered memory obviously does mean you're going to need to spec it for your preferred sort of setup, but these Microsoft Surface, this particular range does start much lower in the sort of mid 15,000 rands, this being the more mid-range sort of setup. And even at 30,000 Rand, Mac, you can sack. You can keep your 40,000 Rand for a basic MacBook Pro. There's absolutely no way I'm spending that when something like this exists that gives me all of that. These also do come with OLED screens, which I think would take it to the next level, especially if you're going to look at it for design purpose. They do come with keyboards that can be detached and by themselves. So you can have the keyboard on the side away from the monitor, so you're not forced to work in a awkward position, you could connect a drawing tablet to it and then have your keyboard on the side, with this being your main monitor. Type-C's out so that you can turn it into a desktop replacement. They've thought of everything as far as you might need for a laptop/tablet type of replacement. Anywho, that's all I've got for you on the Microsoft Surface Pro 11. If you have enjoyed this, please do hit us up with a like and subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side.